It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, and welcome to this holiday edition of the Forum on Eagle Television. Good to have you watching along. Our guest is our new 40th District Senator from Goodland, Kansas. His name's Rick Billinger. And Rick, good to have you back on the show again.
Thanks, Gary. I look forward to visiting with you.
Well, you know what? Last time when we visited, you were running for office. You were trying to get there. Tell me a little bit about the race. What happened in the race itself, and I know it ended like you wanted because you're here, but what did you find out on the campaign trail?
Well, you know, I got to visit with a lot of the folks in the district, and it's a very large district, 14 counties. So I heard from a lot of different folks from east to west, and people want to get things fixed. They want us to get the fiscal part of the state in order, come up with a balanced budget, and folks don't mind paying a little tax. They like to spread it. You know, everyone pays a little rather than a few paying a lot. And so we're going to have to address the tax issues. That's probably the most glaring thing that I did come upon with my constituents was fix the taxes.
Well, you know, several things go along with fix the taxes, but we'll start first with, fixing government in general, and you see that happen on the national level with what's going on in Washington, D.C. There's not the same thing about Topeka, but there is a concern in Topeka that things get done and we just don't keep going backwards. And that's what I hear, if anything, kind of going backwards, and we go backwards and we rob from here and do there. We just need to fix the structure so we get back to a Kansas we can be proud of. Is that kind of in a nutshell what you were hearing?
I think that's right, Gary. And we need to look a little further into the future. We need to look 5-10 years down the road instead of just trying to get over the hump each month. The projections she's continue to come in under.
Low.
Yes, and so it's not going to be easy. There's two ways to fix this. We have a $349 million deficit, or shortfall on the budget, and either we have to find more revenue or we're going to have to come up with some cuts. And there's no quick, easy way to find the funds. So I'm fearful we're going to see some additional cuts.
Well, we're going to talk about state government in general, but before we go to that, let's talk about what's happened so far when we're taking a look at what happened in leadership positions in the state. I know those have been gained, but to some extent, there was a few surprises, not so much on the Senate as there was in the House, but it almost appears like there's maybe more of a centering of Kansas from the very conservative side to maybe more, never liberal in Kansas, but certainly more towards the center.
I would agree, and I think that, particularly in the House, we did see a shift. The Speaker is still a young man from Johnson County who was head of appropriations the last couple of years, did a really good job with appropriations, especially with the challenges we've had in trying to balance the budget. And he did grow up in western Kansas, so he's from Meade is where he's from, so he understands the western Kansas challenges. Then Don Heineman from out here at Dighton, which is one of the reps in my district, was chosen to be the majority leader. And I think from there on down, pretty much all the way down the line, it was a little more liberal than normal. But so I think we've swung from maybe a little further right, closer to, we're probably maybe even a little past center, but we're back to the center, which is where Kansas, I think, most generally is governed from the center.
So where do your constituents think you fit in that? If you look at the far right, far left?
I think most folks would say that I'm pretty much center of the road. I've always tried to stay pretty much centered. It depends on the particular issue. Schools, I'm pro schools, and in western Kansas I have 20-some schools, and so I'm very pro school. So that they might say, well, I'm more moderate on the school issue. Well, then I'm pro-life, so I'm very far right when it comes to pro-life. I'm definitely pro-life. So I think when you get the whole mix, I'm pretty much center of the road. And that's where I try to be.
Now, you're center of the road, but you're not center of Kansas. You're in Goodland, Kansas. So are you the furthest west state representative or senator? When you look at the line, is there anybody farther out than you?
The only one that could be a little further is Stephen Alford from Ulysses. And, you know, he has two-lane road all the way to Topeka.
He has more two-lane road than you do, but I'm not sure he's any farther
and
west.
the distance, I'm not sure. You know, they figure my distance, they figure 350, but from my home to the Capitol is closer to probably 362 to 365.
What does that mean? Because you show up and, you know, you show up in the State House and you have to represent and really have a load representing a big area of Kansas. Now you can say Goodland's western Kansas, Hays is western. To many people, anything west of Topeka is western Kansas. So yeah, you know, that representative of that large of area of Kansas really has a load to tell the story for us.
Right, and you know, this district, the 40th district, is over 14,000 square miles, like 14,300, maybe just a little more. I was telling folks the other day, when they come west on I-70, I said, when you get the mile marker 175, that's where the 40th district, that's where my district starts at 175, which is the Ellis County line. Mm-hmm. So that means I have 175 miles all the way to Colorado that's in this district. And then it goes north to Nebraska other than Rooks County. It is the largest district in the state of Kansas. And I believe I heard the other day that square miles in Kansas is like 83,000, and I have over 14,000.
So you have a big chunk of Kansas.
I have a large amount.
And that means, you know, representing what goes on out here, which is, you know, there are a lot of things you mentioned, schools, rural hospitals, all those things, rural, you know, systems and processes that are in place that you can't just drive over somewhere and get some, you drive for an hour to get somewhere to get some of these services, and how important that is to us in the state to be able to do that.
Right, that's part of the job when you sign up. You understand that you're going to travel quite a distance to get most places. You know, we left this morning about, you know, mid-morning and to come to Hays. You know, it's 140 miles just to Hays. So
it does take some time. Now, when you look at leadership in the Senate, we talked about the House a little bit. Leadership in the Senate was a little more what was expected, correct?
Pretty much. You know, Susan Waggle is going to be president again. She was president for the last 4 years. She did have a challenge from Ty Masterson from Wichita, and it didn't turn out to be very close, but I was pretty sure that she would win that, and she did. And then for the vice president, a fellow from Emporia was
Senator Longbine?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And he was elected vice president, and then the majority leader was Jim Denning from Overland Park. However, Jim grew up in Great Bend, was a Fort Hays State graduate, so he understands Western Kansas also. So.
And you know, that does make a difference if people
Yes.
understand those things that are out here. We're going to take a break and come back, Rick. We're going to talk a little bit about some of those things that are going on, because you mentioned taxes earlier, what's going to happen there, how we're going to pay for schools. It's all one thing to be pro schools and all those other things, but how do we pay for these services? So far, our grade card isn't all that good if you want to go into school terms about that on how we pay for it, because there's nuances of taking dollars from here, moving them here, which really doesn't help the long-term cause for Kansas. So stay with us during the break.
You bet.
Rick Billinger is our guest here on the Forum on Eagle Television. He is our new senator representing us in the 40th District. We'll be back with more after this.
Hays Med is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region, with more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery. Hays Med is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. Hays Med, helping people be healthy.
The most exciting yards in football. It's NFL Red Zone from NFL Network. Get every touchdown from every game, every Sunday afternoon. And football doesn't stop on NFL Network. It goes all week.
We're covering it like crazy.
Get NFL Red Zone from NFL Network today.
Add NFL Red Zone so you can watch all the game-defining yards in football. Call us at 877-61-EAGLE today.
Welcome back to the second half of our forum here on Eagle Television. If you have any ideas, questions, comments, solutions, brainstorming over the holidays, you want to send me your thoughts and ideas, send them to gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. You can also go on to Facebook, check in on Facebook, and then type in ECTV Forum, and you can leave me a note or a comment there as well. Our guest is Rick Billinger, and Rick is our 40th District Senate candidate and actually now representative for the state of Kansas after being elected in the last term. When we talked to him last time he was running for office, we talked about taxes, we talked about schools, but now we got to talk about how to deal with it. And hearing a few things out there, talking about finding different ways to go and access money that is certain areas to be able to pay for schools. But there still seems to be some resistance to actually changing some of the tax situation that got us here. Are you hearing that as well? Because it seems like certain things were made in 2014 that have just compounded the problem over and over.
I really haven't heard a lot, Gary, as far as opposition, to fixing the tax code. But it'll be a challenge. I mean, there's never anything easy, and raising taxes is never a fun job. But the biggest thing on the tax cut is, which I mentioned the last time, is the fairness issue. Either everyone should pay or everyone should not pay. You shouldn't pick and choose and just have a few that just because of their being an LLC or a sole proprietor or whatever it might be, not paying, and you or I may be a C Corp and paying, or individuals paying, and so the fairness issue is a very important part of that. And I think that alone will go a long ways in trying to get that piece of it fixed.
Is that a tax increase, or is that just, fixing something?
No.
Because when the changes were made, it's like all of a sudden there's this big gap, which everybody who follows that says, boy, I'm going to go right there because it eliminates really all my taxes.
Right.
And so I know it came close last time, but it didn't get done. What's
Right.
going to make it happen this time?
Well, I think, number one, we're not hitting the revenues projections, so we're going to have to adjust and find some revenue in order to do that. And that particular area and fixing it's not a raise, like you said, it's just making sure that everybody's paying a little, spreading that tax across a larger base, which will go a long ways in fixing things. I don't think it's going to be an easy fix, but I do believe that we will get there. We were really close, as you mentioned last time. In the House, we were within about 8 votes of getting it passed in the House. So I do believe, I know there's a lot of interest in getting it solved this time.
This is pure speculation, but when you take a look at some of the leaders in the State House that were voted out of office, did some of that come because of that frustration? Just what we talked about of not being able to fix the problem?
I guess, my opinion, there's probably a few of them that was probably part of the reason that they weren't reelected. But, it's always hard to say. Every district is different. But I will say the Senate President, Susan Waggle, has said from day one that, she's interested in getting this fixed. And so, the President of the Senate is very much on board in trying to get this solved.
When you get there and you start talking about revenue, because that's one of the things, is where does revenue come from? I don't see anything that's going to really change the trend we're on. Certainly there's some agriculture things, the oil and gas business that's out here certainly has shown some improvement, but not a lot. But doesn't seem to be a magic bullet that's going to come shooting through Kansas and say, hey, our revenue problems are fixed without having some sort of changes in the tax structure.
I agree. There are no easy fixes. I think I mentioned the last time there are a few things that we can do that will help. But $349 million short it's going to take a lot. But I think I mentioned the last time to you, Gary, that the lotto machines where they can get the scratch tickets at the convenience stores out of a machine, that's projected to bring in maybe $10-12 million, and that's something we can do that would help down the line. I think I did mention about the star bonds being paid off in the Wyandotte County and down at the Speedway and in that area. That's projected to bring in $40 to $50 million. So there's a couple of new pieces there that.
So go shop at the Legend, right?
Right.
Yeah,
That's them taxes are now coming to the state, which will be good.
Shop at home first, but then we'll go to the Legend there. Probably
Shop at
put
home,
that
right.
in place. Hey, I know there's also been a tendency to, when we were at shortfalls, to go to some other funds and take them from highway departments. I know there's a couple of other funds sitting out there that are being looked at that say, boy, there's some money over here that's put aside. Should we be doing something different there? And is that still on the table, or is that trying to steer away from that as much as possible?
And this is my guess again, but I'm guessing there are a couple of areas there. Last year the governor talked about selling off the tobacco settlement.
Yes.
I think that's a very, very bad policy.
Short-term solution.
Right, and it's not even a good short-term solution. To me, I don't think that would go anywhere. I don't think there's an appetite to do that, and I think it'd be bad for Kansas to get on that road. And the last thing that we've been hearing is trying to maybe sell off some of the unclaimed property. I'm not sure how that'll work. To me, that's kind of like a loan, because if we did sell some and get some revenue there, and then Gary or someone come in and claim this property, we're going to have to find that money to pay them back. So it's kind of like a loan. So I'm not sure.
I heard that same thing, and it was just amazing the value of that unclaimed property in Kansas. So it's not a small figure.
No, it's a large amount, and that could potentially help a little bit short term, but there again, it's debt any way you look at it.
Well, it's going to be interesting as you go there and go to Topeka with the challenges this year. We're going to be under the umbrella of what's taking place in Washington, D.C., which is just pretty amazing when you hear the transition that's taking place there. You'll not have that, but it'll be under that umbrella of change, and I think the voters want that to happen. What's the best way for somebody to find you? Because I know you're in the car a lot, you're going to be going back and forth a lot, and that's sort of been your commitment, is you're going to stay in touch. You're not just going to go to Topeka and do that. They can probably catch you in the car most of the time, but what's the real way to get a hold of you if they want to find you?
Well, the phone is a good way, or a text. My phone number is 785-899-4700. That's my cell phone, and that's a good way to contact me. Right now I have a house address, which is rick.billinger@house.ks.gov. And when I get back in January, it'll be rick.billinger@senate.ks.gov. I believe that's right. Now I'm assuming it'll be the same.
We'll put up your current one right now, because that's when people will be watching. And when you get your new one, then we'll make that happen as well. At least have a discussion about how to talk about that, because it's so important. If you have a question, to me, there's nothing worse than sitting somewhere complaining about something without having a discussion with the people that are making the decision. And while they talk about being how long is the session? 100 days?
Well, it's supposed to be 90.
90, but last year was 100.
Right.
Yeah.
The longest session in history 2 years ago. Last year was only 70. It was one of the shorter ones.
And
so
then a year ago
it was like, what is it, 110 or something?
Yeah,
it was quite a few days.
That's the one I'm thinking of,
yes.
because they can get to be a long session,
Yes.
but your session never really ends. I know you're getting started right now, getting on committee. You don't have a committee assignment yet. When do you expect those to come down?
I expect them this week.
So at some point in the next few days, you'll be
Yes.
getting some sort of update as to what you'll be doing. Any committees you want to be on?
I put down some of that I'm interested in. Pretty similar to the committees I'm on this current year. I was on commerce, I was on financial institutions, I was on insurance, I was on oh shoot, I was on Capers, as far as the
retirement
part of
things,
yes.
so.
And so I look for some similar type committees.
Well, I know you have a good support team. You brought her along with you as well doing that, because that's another commitment for a family to be able to do this and be able to do that back and forth and be a part of that.
Yes, I'm very fortunate to have my wife Rita involved with me and helping me. She keeps track of notes for me and answers the phone and does a lot of
Does
things.
all that stuff,
Oh,
yeah.
yes, yes.
Well, it's good to have you on our program today, and we wish you best luck as you head back down to Topeka. Instead of being in the House, you're going to be in the Senate. It's kind of a new role there for doing that. Congratulations on winning the campaign and getting that position, and keep up the good work for us, because we do need someone back in Topeka representing those of us that are on this half of the state anyway.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I always enjoy visiting with you, Gary.
Rick Billinger has been our guest. He's our new senator from the 40th District here in the state of Kansas. Plenty of challenges going forward. I'm sure you'll get them all tackled, and maybe somewhere along the line we'll be able to catch up on how it's going.
Thank you. We'll try to find some good solutions.
We hope so, and make that work. Our program is brought to you by Hayes Med and by Eagle Communications, our community connected.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, quality TV channels, all with the level of customer service you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications, our community connected.